welcome back to Mr. Opera, or the New School Singer. It's both things. We're really both things here. New School Singing, Mr. Opera. You take your pick. And, of course, we're especially into bullshit inspections and bullshit detections. And, who's here? Mika, hello! Hello and welcome. Don't seem to have my chat coming up properly here. So I don't know which channel you're on. Oh, it looks like you're on Mr. Opera channel. So welcome. I can see your message, but I see it in the wrong place. Anyway, yeah, welcome. Let me know if you got any questions as we go. Tonight on the docket is some bullshit inspector, which is kind of my favorite of the things. So let's get right into it. We're looking today at this guy whose name is Jordan Schreiner, and he answered my comment on Instagram, which is always a big mistake. As far as I know, the voice teachers have mostly they get the word out to each other to not interact with Mr. Opera, because it's not going to go. My interests aren't the same as their interests. That's the problem. It's not that they're bad people necessarily, or that I'm a better person. I have different interests. So, but here we go. So today we're doing a Q&A with this voice professor, and the big topic is going to be, this thin edge of the folds business, and whether or not we always want to stretch out the vocal folds in order to sing higher. So let's just get into it real quick. And I've got this cool feature today of I can type in some titles as I go, put them up on the screen. So tell me what you think.
Opera here is saying that we should be resisting.
Welcome to
Vocal Technique Chat. Let's answer some questions. Opera here is saying that we should be
Mr.
resisting.
Opera. So he name checked me. So yeah, it's not often I get. I feel good about that one. Anyway.
Tilt in a full operatic sound. Personally do not believe in a cookie cutter method, but laryngeal tilt is something that I teach to all of my classical based singers, yes, and in opera.
Let's put those two statements together real quick. So we don't believe in the cookie cutter method. I mean, that's good. I'm going to agree with that one. Let me get my bullshit counter over here. We're gonna try to keep score. Let's see if I can get this going. So we'll reset our bullshit counter. As you can see, we should be to 0 here. Oh, where is it? That's my bullshit counter. Well, it doesn't appear to be working. Well, that's a shame. I don't have a bullshit. Yeah, that doesn't seem to be working, guys. So, yeah, very sorry about that. I guess we're gonna go on without the bullshit counter. But anyway, let's take these points first, and I guess we'll play the theme song. This is the Bullshit Inspector. We're taking a look at Jordan Schreiner, and you're on the Mr. Opera channel. Oops. No, that's not what I meant to do. going back. I like my little my little games and stuff. My little jokes. Yeah, that's still not working. Oh, no. Yep. Now I'm just messing everything up. Okay. So the first point we need to break down, I think, here is whether or not a cookie cutter or not, do we have a cookie cutter approach, and what does that mean? And if everyone is forced to tilt their larynx to go to sing a higher pitch, and let's say that that's not the only option, but you're being forced to do it by your teacher, that to me is the definition of, or not the definition of, but that is a simple and effective example of what we mean by the cookie cutter approach. That everyone's getting the same thing, whether or not that's what they need or not. That's cookie cutter. And the feeling of being forced to do things that you don't want to do, that's how the dough feels when it's getting, cut into cookies.
Let's answer some questions. Opera here is saying that we should be resisting the tilt in a full operatic sound. Personally, do not believe in a cookie cutter method, but laryngeal tilt is something that I teach to all of my classical bass singers, yes, and in opera. Laryngeal tilt, in my opinion...
And just to back up here, what's being advocated in New School Singing is not that you have to resist the stretching of your vocal folds in order to raise the pitch. And we're going to look at some footage of some vocal folds doing their thing so that we know what it is that we're actually talking about, because I think this is really it's not represented very well. And kind of the word larynx is used so generally to mean a bunch of different parts, and tilting is used, I think, really generally. So let's talk about what's actually going on and when is it not going on. To be clear, New School Singing doesn't tell you that you have to keep your vocal folds short. New School Singing has, let's see here. Let's get rid of this. Okay. We go up in here. In New School Singing, there's position, motion, and attitude. And those get you the sound that you got. That's how you get all sounds in New School Singing. Position, motion, and attitude. What sound that you want to make, that's not the decision of a New School Singing teacher. Well, I guess anyone can call themselves that. But I came up with this system, and I very much agree with another system called Complete Vocal Technique when they say that a coach or teacher shall not talk about or impose their personal preferences unless they have been specifically assigned to coach style. Now, who would be assigning them is the student, or someone that the student has entrusted with making these kinds of assignments for them, perhaps. But unless a teacher has been specifically assigned to tell the student how to achieve a particular style, which the student has already expressed a desire to achieve, then New School Singing is not telling you what you need to do. So if I tell you that you need to keep your vocal folds short, it's because you already told me you're looking for a robust sound. If you're looking for a robust sound and you're stretching your vocal folds, you're not helping you. You're doing exactly the opposite of what it is that you need to do in order to make a robust sound. And we're going to see this in a moment. So yeah, just to be clear, there seems to be only one cookie cutter here, and it's a little bit weird to be kind of like starting out addressing someone else with this. I guess the idea is that he wanted to say new school singing, I guess, is a cookie cutter approach or something. And I understand. Now he's going to present something that isn't a cookie cutter approach, except he just tells us that he teaches everyone the same thing. It's
just about finding the stretch in the vocal fold so we can maintain finer edge function above the staff. Sing on more fine edge function.
That's true. So thyroid tilt equals fine edge. The fine edge of the vocal folds will be, let's see if I can, whoops, get rid of my, so thyroid tilt equals fine edge. That's true. So let's keep that one. And that's not in dispute, though. Just to be clear, the whole criticism here is that perhaps you don't want to do that if you're singing, especially if you're singing opera. Now, okay, opera is a big general thing. If you're singing lighter roles and you want them to sound less like, shall we say, manly, like a typical, what the audience thinks of as a manly sound, and you want it to sound more like a soprano voice, then this is the first place to start, is stretching out your vocal folds as much as possible. You're going to need to do other things, though, like loosening up the epiglottis, so and keeping your pressure relatively low, and that's going to help you sound more like a soprano. And if that's your goal, then it would be the job of me or anyone else who's teaching you to help you do that. If that's your goal.
That's going to enhance the overtone. It's going to keep the core in the sound while finer edge function above the staff. Sing on more fine edge function. That's going to enhance method, but laryngeal tilt is something that I teach to all of my classical-based singers, yes, and in opera. Laryngeal tilt, in my opinion, is just about finding the stretch in the vocal fold so we can maintain finer edge function above the staff. Sing on more fine edge function.
This is okay. This is what you call word salad. Let's see if I can bring this up here. Where's my... Hey, word salad. The way word salad works... Oops. Let's... This is fun. I like having my little titles here. All right. So the way word salad works is like, it sounds like it's a sentence, but it's kind of just words thrown together. That are made to... I don't know. It's like this. He heard some people talking about some anatomical stuff, I guess. So the fine edge function is, I guess, if you preserve this function, then you have relatively low inflammation of the vocal folds. And you can do a really simple test of how much you've preserved the fine edge function of your vocal folds, which would be the ability of the flesh, the mucosa, the mucous membrane that's on top of the vocal fold to vibrate separately from the rest of the body of the thing. You can test for this just by doing a really, really simple, take a pitch like that's kind of high-ish. You're going to sing the birthday song, really soft, in a falsetto. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Okay? Happy birthday, dear. Okay? Now, how much ability you have to sing this birthday song really cleanly at this very, 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 very soft volume, without having any kind of delay in how fast your voice starts phonating, etc., etc. That's an indication of how inflamed your vocal folds are. Is that, and the more you've got that preserved, the more you could say you've preserved the fine edge function. Is this relevant if you're doing this, for instance? Let's see. See if I can get that to play. No. Nah, it's not going to play. Oh. 1 second. Let me get this playing. Okay.
More fine edge function that's going to
Oops. Oh crap. Now
the sound while allowing the pharynx and everything to stay
so
open.
does this involve any fine edge function? No. Now you could do this. Okay. Some of the dynamic variation does come down to being able to stretch the vocal folds a little bit, and them not being super swollen. But you can do what I just did there in that video with quite a bit of vocal fold swelling and quite a bit of loss of fine edge function. Now, why is that? It's because the whole skill set there, like the whole thing, the whole job, the assignment is to keep the vocal folds short. It's not to stretch the vocal folds. Unfortunately, when I went to school, they never even told me that it was possible to sing higher pitches without stretching the vocal folds. That was like not... It wasn't until like 20 years later that I'm talking to some vocal nerds, and one of the other vocal nerds says something really, really obvious, because I intuitively understood how the vocal folds were increasing their frequency when we stretch them out and we adjust the pressure. It's like, we can see the same thing happening with a balloon. If you stretch a balloon before you deflate it, you can get it to make a very high pitch. And that works just like stretching the vocal folds. That's what they're talking about. It also sounds a hell of a lot like a falsetto, doesn't it? Because that's what a falsetto is. And what you just heard me doing has nothing to do with the falsetto or the fine edge of the vocal folds. Nothing at all. What this guy pointed out, this vocal nerd, was, well, imagine you could make the rubber of the balloon much more sturdy. And then imagine you were able to squeeze the balloon somehow hard enough and then put a bunch of tension on the end of the opening of the balloon while making the rubber somehow less stretchy. As you increase the pitch, you would increase the frequency of how often the end of the balloon is opening and closing, so you would raise the pitch. So it's like, oh, fudge. This whole time, I didn't realize, just like, I forget what his name is already, but just like this guy doesn't realize when he's schooling me on Instagram with completely invented facts, by the way, here. But just like this guy doesn't realize there's more than one way to change the pitch, I didn't realize there's more than one way to change the pitch. And then I didn't realize that you can do everything in between, like stretch your vocal folds a bit. That it's not just one or the other. But if you follow the directions, as we're going to see that he's giving, they are correct directions for getting this particular sound that he's getting. And a lot of things work the way that he's saying. It's just that he's got a different goal from probably most of you who are coming here to Mr. Opera. Because, like, most people coming here to Mr. Opera are fans of the more robust singing, I think. Welcome to Bear. And, crap, COVID. And how is that going? Hope you're feeling all right. Well, I hope maybe we'll make you laugh a little bit. Unfortunately, I don't have my my bullshit detector thing. It's not working. Yeah. But otherwise, I think it's yeah. Yeah, it has to do with I did an update of the app that does the bullshit counter. So okay. Oh, that's good, man. When I got COVID, I lost my voice on stage. It was brutal. It was brutal. I sang 3 operas that week, 4 shows. And on the 4th one, I lost my voice on stage. It was terrible. Like, I would be able to sing for like 1 minute, and then the voice would just cut out. But I had to do it. I was the only one singing that role. If I canceled, then it would be canceled for all my colleagues too, and they would lose money. So can't do that. Okay, so and yeah, Mika, the thing is, like, there's when you go to see a show, probably when we talk about opera, usually like aspiring opera singers are after the roles that we think of as being at like the top of the food chain. But actually what opera is a whole bunch of different vocal coordinations. You know, it's just that I guess for what he's training students to do and everything is to sing lead roles. But you also have, like, you have beautiful and you have ugly singing on the opera stage, and you have like nasal singing, and yeah, there's really all kinds of singing, but unfortunately we don't have really words to describe it. Everyone's supposedly doing chiaroscuro, but their individual sound has been blah blah blah. It's horse shit.
The overtone, it's going to keep the core in the sound while allowing above the staff.
Bullshit.
Sing on more fine edge function, that's going to enhance the overtone. It's going to keep the core in the sound while allowing the pharynx.
Enhance the overtone. He said it's going to enhance.
Dovrebbe un cantante servirsi della voce di petto?
No. You're tearing me apart!
No!
You say one thing, he says another, and everybody changes back again!
I'm looking for this one. That's number 4. I needed number 4. Yeah. What is the overtone? Let's hear that again.
Above the staff. Sing on more fine edge function, that's going to enhance the overtone. It's going to keep the core in the sound while allowing the pharynx.
Enhance the overtone. That's just regular bullshit. Let's bring back this. This is more word salad. Enhance the overtone. That's like Deepak Chopra came up with singing advice or something. We're going to enhance the overtone. I mean, overtones are specific things, and the only time you're really worried about enhancing any of them is when you're coupling one of the formants, one of the resonant frequencies of your voice to one of the harmonics. It's not that hard. It's really common, and you'll hear it with good singing, and you'll hear it with bad singing. Ahoj, Peter. Jak se máš? And Anna Okovenko. No. Okonovenko. Hello. Nazdar. Yeah. So when you have the second resonance of the vocal tract coupled to the third harmonic, it sounds like everything above F4 in this clip. Let's see here. If I can. I'll bring it up like this. Here we go. Okay.
Everything to stay open.
No, not like that. Oh, jeez.
In my experience.
No. Well, let me try this again. I'll have to, yeah, I'll have to fix this. Okay. No overtones. What's going on here?
More fine edge function. That's
Oh,
going
God.
to enhance the overtone. It's going to keep the core in the sound while allowing the pharynx and everything to stay open.
Hang on. I need this guy to go away.
I don't have laryngeal tilt in my sound and in my tenors. A lot of them will either
Yeah, and
vibrato,
go away.
husky, or the sound is not necessarily.
Okay. All right. We should have something here. Okay. Oh God, that is so annoying. I don't know what has happened here. 1 second, I'll try to fix this.
Let's answer some questions. Your opera here is saying that we should be.
Oh, that's a mess. But let's see if I can get it to play.
Personally, do not believe in a cookie cutter method, but laryngeal tilt is something that I teach
Oh,
my
that's-
classical bass singer.
It's not working properly.
Laryngeal
But
tilt,
anyway,
in my opinion, is just.
what I'm hoping you can hear, if I can get this to work properly, and I'm just gonna head over here and do it this way. Okay. So far, no harmonics are mattering. There's no coupling. There's no harmonics that are enhanced. The first resonance is just like somewhere between the first and second harmonic. Nothing is nothing relevant is going on with any harmonics. Still nothing relevant going on with harmonics. On this note, the second harmonic is coupled. The second harmonic is coupled to the second formant, sorry. I'm going to write this down. It's called an F2 H3 coupling. We need to see that. So when we have this F2 H3 coupling, Let's see if I can know what has happened.
Let's answer some questions. Your opera here is
Okay.
saying that we should be resisting.
When we have the F2H3 coupling, that's the only time that we're enhancing an overtone in this sense that he means. Now that is happening with sopranos and with tenors, and it's got just zero to do with what the vocal folds are doing. Well, I mean, it does. I mean, the vocal folds are making all of the harmonics that we hear in the first place. But the way that we're reinforcing one is simply by tuning the vowel. That's all it is. You pick a very specific vowel, and it's going to have to change with each pitch, because you're going to tune one of the resonant frequencies that would normally be used to tell us which vowel that you're singing. You're going to use it instead to pin it directly to a harmonic, and you're going to use that to boost the voice. It's really cool. It's not magic, and it's not everything. And as we'll hear, it can't make you sound robust. It does contribute to ring above F4, but it contributes to making the thing that you are using ring. The source that you have is going to ring more when you have this F2H3 coupling, when you've boosted a harmonic, and specifically this third harmonic. But that's a boost of what you're starting out with. It doesn't obviate or take away the need for a strong source. And if you look at the work of scientists like Johann Sundberg, for instance, who are the ones telling us about things like the F2H3 coupling, they will tell you straight out, first thing you need for expressive singing is a strong source. So, I mean, that's that. Now, as for polyphonic, let me make sure I don't have any filters on my microphone, because I'll do some quick overtone singing. So let me just check here. Yeah, I've got this noise suppression, so I'm going to take the noise suppression off. Let's see. All right. So because if I use this noise suppression, then it winds up not letting me do what I want to do here, which is polyphonic singing. So if I want to do polyphonic singing, and I don't know how to do the really cool throat singing and stuff, but I can tune this second resonance of the vocal tract for you, and show you that I can skip from one harmonic to another with that. And I'm gonna basically be tuning the vowels U, O, A, and E, and then in a lowish middle range. And I'll just show you. Okay, if I raise the pitch, okay? So, how much of that is helping me project my voice? This is a tiny sound. So, just having a formant harmonic coupling isn't doing anything much. Now, if I wanted to do two more formant harmonic couplings that aren't, shall we say, polyphonic singing. Well, one, I could do the yell coordination. So let's try a yell. Oops. Now, yelling is going to be F1 H2. So let's try coupling the first resonance of the voice to the second harmonic. Hey! 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 That's your belting? I don't know. It's got a sound to it. That's your. It's very not operatic. You got to raise your larynx to sing higher. But what I'm tuning there is the first resonance to the second harmonic. And then we could also try. We could try the whoop. I'm not really good at it, and I don't remember whose word that is. But this is going to be F1H0 or something like that. Well, that looks rude. I'll just take that off. So, but if I let's say F1, I think it's H0. I'm not really good at it. But it's something like ooh, 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 ooh. Basically the sound a wine glass makes, and that's the sound you're going to use to, you're making as much a uniform tube as you can, and that's what you use for I think it's F1H0. I can't remember how you're supposed to put it all, how you're supposed to write it. And then our opera, shall we say, above the, and now I've got a UK keyboard all of a sudden. Of course, randomly my keyboard switches to UK. Why not? Why not randomly have just a UK keyboard? And this will be above the passaggio. And then lower down, I think sometimes you have like, F2, H4 kind of stuff. F2, we want F2, H3. So if I do these same pitches, I could do it F0 H0. Yeah, F1 H2, whatever. Yeah. So I could be singing badly or poorly, whatever, and still have an F2 H3 coupling. It's going to be part of the sound, just because if you sound opera, probably you have this. If you sound, unless you sound like like the whoop timbre that I did, like some sopranos, right? And in this case, you're going to have the first resonance that I was tuning to the second harmonic before. It's going to be lowered, and it gets lowered by lengthening the vocal tract, lowering the larynx primarily. Because like everything else that you're doing probably to get robust singing is going to be raising the first resonance of the vocal tract, right? So that's overtones. But you'll notice when I talk about overtones, there's a rule. I have to be talking about a specific overtone or a specific formant, or I'm a bullshitter. And this gentleman is a bullshitter today.
Sing the tilt in a full operatic sound. Personally do not believe in a cookie cutter method, but laryngeal tilt is something that I teach to all of my classical bass singers, yes, and in
we
opera.
went over this. The reason you teach it to everyone is because you're putting them through a cookie cutter. All right, maybe he's not a cookie cutter. He's more like a pasta machine.
My opinion is just about finding the stretch in the vocal fold so we can maintain finer edge function above the staff.
Just about
more
that.
Fine edge function, that's going to enhance the overtone. It's going to keep the core in the sound while allowing the pharynx and everything to stay open so we have a balance of resonance.
Again, while I don't doubt that he's opening his pharynx a lot because, and we'll get to why he's opening his pharynx a lot and why it's probably related to the sound that he's getting. But let's take that first statement though, that tilting the larynx is going to put the core into the voice. I thought maybe now is a good time for us to look at that, not this. Oops. Oh, jeez. Why? I'll be right back. I need to figure this out. One second, guys. I'm almost there. Just have to... This should fix it. Okay. So here's our dude singing, but no. How's it still playing?
Opera here is saying that we should be
Oh, jeez.
tilt in a full operatic sound. Personally,
1 second, guys. Yeah. All right. He's just not leaving us alone. I don't know where this audio is even coming from.
Are we feeling a little bit of slight laryngeal tilt? Is the tongue moving away from the back of the throat and is the palate stretching up? Coordinations, that's when we can get some laryngeal tilt. And as you move to the third,
Yeah, sorry guys. This is terrible.
Chad, let's answer some questions. Your opera here is saying that we should be resisting the tilt in a full operatic sound.
Okay. Here we go. Here's a male larynx. Doing not the thin edge of the folds. Female larynx doing, again, not. This is the full vocal folds. And here's what it looks like when we have the thin edge of the folds. Okay. Are we clear on what we mean? Let's look at the female one. Think of all the times you've been told about laryngeal tilt. Were you expecting some big movement, that you could see in your throat or something, in your pharynx, as he's talking about in this video? We're talking about big. We're supposed to have big moves in the pharynx, opening the pharynx, etc. This in this video is extreme stretching. It's not. I guess and also extreme shortening. We're going from all the way short, not all the way short, but relatively short, to extremely stretched for the pitch that we're on. How much movement did you see? How much difference are you seeing? Let's go back. I mean, yes, it's really important to note. I don't know if I can set up my whiteboard right now. Let's see. Let's see if this will work. But take a look at I'll bring this over here. See if I can draw on the screen. Let's see if this gives us anything. Nah. No. Unfortunately. Oh. Maybe this'll. No. Well, I don't have any drawing capabilities today, unfortunately. I don't know how this stuff like it decides to work and then not work. It's random. You update something and then like just everything breaks. Take a look at the area just around the vocal folds here, because there we can see this the supraglottal area, I guess. What's going on with the laryngeal vestibule? What kind of narrowing we're getting from the epiglottis? Now that goes with more robust sounds, and I guess it goes hand in hand with like holding the arytenoids in place so that you can put this tension on them and keep them fat. That's what I was wondering. Yes, Ilir Muin Malachi Broman. Yes, thank you. I wasn't sure if that's F1 is being tuned to the fundamental frequency or to the first harmonic. It might be actually the fundamental. But I don't know. It would be great to look this up. And I think also on whoop timbre, often, or there's another timbre where that happens. You can tune more than one formant. Actually, we're not talking about it. It's not hugely important, but yeah. But thank you, Ilair, and that's always welcome to do corrections, especially on a show where we're doing corrections. Oh, now I'm getting really bad I'm getting really bad problems here with my audio. This is not good. Just everything's breaking. I'm gonna try restarting my my sound card. 1 second, guys. I think we're back. I think I'm back and I got sound. I'll start streaming on This Is Opera as well. And yeah. Let's see. All right. Yeah, okay. I think I'm back. So where were we?
It's helpful. You can save this for later. You can ask singing questions in the comments. Very helpful. Vibrato. When I don't function, my opinion is just about finding the stretch in the vocal fold so we can make a more fine edge function. That's going to enhance the overtone. It's going to keep the core in the sound while allowing the pharynx and everything to stay open so we have a balance of resonance. In my experience, when I don't have laryngeal tilt in my sound and in my tenors, a lot of them will either get a wider vibrato, the sound will get husky, or the sound is not necessarily sustainable. And if laryngeal tilt's not your jam,
let's talk about this a bit. There's a few points brought up, and then I'll go over again what I was just talking about. If you want to feel what this laryngeal tilt actually is, and because it helps to know like what is it and what isn't it. So let's find what the tilt really is, and then what it isn't. What it is I'm gonna write this down because I think it helps. And where did my titles go? Okay. So let's talk about thyroid tilt versus hyoid, glide, and tilts. We'll make this. I'll bring this up over here. All right. Maybe. Make it that. Oops, I don't want to mess with that. Why is that doing? Aha. Oh, there we go. Okay. Let's find the hyoid, the thyroid, and the cricoid. This is pretty important. And Nikolai Primark, welcome and hello, and everyone at This Is Opera. I don't know. We're not going to have them in chat, I don't think, because it took me too long to set that up. We're going to keep going with the live stream. So let's find the thyroid, hyoid, and the cricoid. If you find your Adam's apple, that's this prominent thing, your voice box. Feel at the bottom of it, you should get to a very, very, very narrow gap. And under there's a ring made out of the same stuff as your voice box. There's a ring of cartilage. This is the cricoid cartilage. Now there was this still vocal technique was trying to tell us that actually it's the cricoid that's tilting. But it didn't make much sense because this cricoid cartilage is attached right to the trachea, which is the windpipe where the air is coming in and out. Okay? The tilt that we're talking about, if you put your finger between your thyroid and your cricoid, that's your Adam's apple and the little ring under it, and you want to feel a lot of tilt, go you can keep your larynx down if you want. The difference that you feel between this little ring down here and your thyroid cartilage, that's your thyroid tilt. That's it. That what we saw in the video of the vocal from the doctor, that was close to the change that I just made. Those two vocal fold configurations. And if you do that same thing, you'll feel how much this is. The amount that this moved makes sense when we look at how much change we had in the vocal folds. So, however much your thyroid is tilting, that's exactly how far your vocal folds are stretching. Keep that in mind. We're not talking about stretching your vocal folds like this far or even this far. We're talking about like stretching them this far, and we're doing that by tilting the thyroid. So the amount that the thyroid is tilting is really small, right? Because you're using it like a lever, sort of. So you don't need a lot of tilt to get a lot of stretch. This is a minuscule movement, and it's nothing more special than what it is when you go, what it is that you do when you go, It's tilting the thyroid. So yeah, that's how that works. Let's keep going. Oh, no, I can't do it that way because this is so annoying. Yeah. So let me. I'm just gonna set up a. No, it's fine. We do need to hear what he had to say.
It's totally cool, but it is something that I find to be very helpful in my singing. Yes, in full bore, balance of resonance. It's going to touch in the vocal fold so we can maintain finer edge function above the staff. Sing on more fine edge function, that's going to enhance the overtone. It's going to keep the core in the sound while allowing the pharynx and everything to stay open so we have a balance of resonance. In my experience, when I don't have laryngeal tilt in my sound and in my tenors, a lot of them will either get a wider vibrato, the sound will get husky, or the sound is not necessarily sustainable. And if laryngeal tilt's not your jam, it's totally cool, but it is something that I find to be very helpful in my singing. Yes, in full bore operatic singing over an orchestra unamplified.
Okay,
hopefully you can save this for later. You can ask singing questions in the comments and click.
I mean, again, let's just go again. So what I want to know is which part was unsustainable, which part had the wide vibrato, and which part had the husky sound. That's the whole skill, not the whole skill. One of the skills demonstrated in the video I just played for you, which is me singing Samson and Delilah. One of the skills there is not stretching the vocal folds. It's something you got to start working on now if you want to do it in 3 years. And there's no time to waste. And you don't get there by stretching them harder. I think this is like it's a really huge thing. And I can't be emphatic enough about how much this is bullshit, what this guy is telling us. And this is taught in schools everywhere. And it's like bullshit you can look up. You can look it up that this is bullshit. Unfortunately, like, don't look in books written by university voice teachers, because they all read the same bullshit and they're all just repeating the same bullshit. You go to like actual real studies, real science, original materials, and there you can find out that that's not how this works. You can even, I mean, if you were really curious, construct a model of vocal folds, you know, and play around with the actual with the physics of when you add pressure, when you add tension, how you change the pitch, etc. Your vocal folds work the same way, and they don't work the way he's saying. Well, they do. That's the thing. But they also work this other way, which we just saw. So that's how that works. Let's watch a bit more, because he gives us, I think, a good
training the tenor voice as a tenor.
Yeah.
Working with one of my undergraduate tenors this week, and they were hitting that feeling of a glass ceiling at E flat. Again, there's no cookie cutter to singing.
The glass ceiling.
In this case, with this tenor, it wasn't the
There's no
E-flat
glass ceiling for
problem, it was
tenors.
about a third below it. So what we want to do is look about a third below and see, are we feeling a little bit of slight laryngeal tilt? Is the tongue moving away from the back of the throat, and is the palate stretching in opposition? When we have those two coordinations,
Okay,
that's when we can
let's-
get some laryngeal
let's
tilt
start
going
with
on,
that.
some finer edges
Let's
of
start
the
with that.
folds, and release some breath pressure.
And then we got a good question
Using
here.
A flat major, we're going to use A flat to C in a rocking exercise.
I see
O is
what's
going
going
to
on.
be an E vowel, and then as you move to the third, we are going to use a mixed U umlaut sound. E.
Okay. So first, Joey Pie, why is your way better if it works his way too? My way is better because my way works for doing what I say it works for, and his way doesn't work for what he says it works for. That's the problem. His way doesn't make robust singing. It makes you sound more like a soprano, and it's particular. And I would say that the way he's suggesting, although it can be healthy if you're singing appropriate repertoire like vaudeville music or some crooning, or like much lighter operatic repertoire, really light stuff, and with all, make sure you're only ever singing with extremely good orchestras, because bad orchestras play loud. Cheap orchestras play loud, and expensive orchestras know how to play soft. So that's why my way is better, because if you tell me that you want to sing this way, then I guess, well, I'll send you to him. No, I mean, I can help people sing this way, stretching their vocal folds more. And if you want to hear examples of me doing that, then just look in the contemporary singing that I have here on YouTube. Like, I sing some Sarah Bareilles songs, and that's how I use a lot of falsetto and neutral and things, and that's how you do it. You stretch the vocal folds. So my way is better because, you know, I call the things that I'm doing what I'm doing, and I can choose which one I want for the job that I'm doing, or I can choose the one that works for the job that I'm doing. We'll see in a second, Joey Pie. But I don't think the way, I think the way he's recommending has a chance of projecting well if the tessitura is really high. So if the piece hangs out really high, then you can do this. But the repertoire he's going to be demonstrating it with is not that. He's going to be demonstrating Tales of Hoffmann. He's also some Handel. So, and in the Handel, it's like, okay, that's fine. But then it's Tales of Hoffmann, and it's not working. And he's still got it online for some reason. So yeah, and Nikolai Primark, yeah, the way that you prevent the vocal folds from stretching is the vocalis muscles and the thyroarytenoid muscles have to hold, and then the cricoid does what it's trying to do, what he's trying to do with it, it does it really strong. But at the same time, the thyroarytenoids, which means the ligament is going to be involved here to transfer energy, and now the stretch of the ligament is going to be a factor. But basically, you put tension on the vocal folds, just like he's saying with the cricoid, with the cricothyroid muscles, etc. It's trying to tilt essentially, but then that is resisted, and then you add pressure to change the pitch. So the way that he's advocating, it's easier, I would say, to tune. It's easier to land directly on the note, because there's a wider range of pressures that you can use to make the same pitch. You can just adjust the stretch. But if you're keeping the vocal folds short and you're using the pressure to adjust your pitch, well, now think about what's happening. You're trying to do something. You're trying to draw some like fine calligraphy or something using bigger muscle groups. So you have to get really good at them and extremely precise. It's like how a boxer can hit you, like very, very precisely, not just hard. I would say Joey Pie, what he's advocating is better for lighter singing of all kinds. When you want, the lighter you want it, the more you want to stretch the vocal folds. I would say if you're singing soprano, you're going to be stretching the vocal folds. You have to get into this falsetto vocal mode, falsetto, what CVT calls falsetto neutral. As far as I know, for all of these soprano tones, you have to be in this vocal mode. So the thin edge of the folds is going to have to be vibrating separately from the body. But you can have more or less of this. You can, and even though, with all sopranos and mezzo sopranos on the soprano tones, say they're middle and head tones, they're stretching, then the more robust soprano is not stretching as much. She's resisting some of that. So she's got a more dense falsetto. So Nikolai, if you have, there's a lot of mistakes in there. But maybe put the link and we can, which one you mean, and we'll watch it together. I'll do like a bullshit inspector on my own video. That'll be fun. Because there's some mistake. I don't think it was bullshit. I wasn't being intentional. I think this guy's got some intentions to deceive when he's saying things like about the overtone. I forget what the exact language he used was. That we're going to enhance the overtone or something like that from stretching out the vocal folds, and that's ridiculous. Like where did he even get that? I don't know. It's just completely made up. It's a word salad, and then I call bullshit on this stuff. I think, and to me, it's a little bit insulting that he actually, like, he made this reel for me as a response, and he actually thought that, I don't know, like he thought that this would slip by somehow. They're so used to lying their faces off to everybody. It just so they'll just make up word salad, like as easy as they breathe. These guys.
Welcome to
Anyway.
Vocal Technique Chat. Let's answer some questions. Training the tenor voice
So
as a tenor.
the other
Working with
point
one of my
here-
undergraduate tenors
let's-
this week, and they were hitting that feeling of a glass ceiling at E flat. Again,
There's-
there's no cookie cutter to singing, but in this case,
There's
with
also
this
no glass
tenor, it
ceilings
wasn't
for
the
tenors.
E flat problem. It was about a third below it. So what we want to do is look about a third below and see, are we feeling a little bit of slight laryngeal tilt? Is the tongue moving away from the back of the
Okay,
throat?
that's
and is
the
palate
important part.
Stretching in opposition. When we have those two coordinations, then
Okay.
we can get some laryngeal tilt going on, some
Oh,
finer
crap.
edges of the. Welcome to Vocal Technique
Once I
Chat.
s-
Let's answer some
once I
questions.
start 'em,
Training the
I can't
tenor
stop
voice
'em.
As a tenor. I was working with one of my undergraduate tenors this
Okay.
week, and they were hitting that feeling
All right.
of a.
The important part here, and now we'll get to the third anatomy thing. What did he mention about the tilt? About what you're looking for? What is he associated with? And now, like this, so now we get to the important part. He associates it with movement of the tongue, and with what he said was the soft palate moving in opposition. So let's take a look at that. What would cause the tongue to move? We looked at what the thyroid tilt is, what the laryngeal tilt actually is, and I can do that with my tongue in any position. And we watched the videos from the laryngologist from an exam where we saw laryngeal tilt for sure. I mean, the doctor's telling us that's what it is. M1 and M2. The second one was a tilted larynx, and that corresponded really well with what I demonstrated. That does not correspond really well with what he's saying about the tongue moving. But let's hunt down what he's doing and what I think he's doing and feeling and experiencing, because that maybe is actually significant. So if there's movement going on in the larynx and also my tongue, like for instance this, see how they move together? But they don't have to. So I can hold my tongue here, right? And I can reach a certain distance, but it's easier to reach with my tongue if I just let my larynx come up. Okay. So you see tongue movement and you see larynx movement. Is this thyroid tilting? It can't be. No. I'm moving my hyoid bone. That's not even the larynx as far as anatomy books are concerned. That's the hyoid. There's a bone, right? So now let's go back to the anatomy on our own bodies. If you go to the thyroid cartilage and you go down, you find this ring underneath. That's the cricoid cartilage. But what if you go up? Well, there's a gap, and there's this little. Oh, there's another ring on top. It feels like, and I can't. It kind of goes back. I can feel like it feels almost like a staple on top of my thyroid. And if I really lower my larynx, tense things up, and I move my neck around, I don't know if you guys heard that, but there was this crunching noise. It was this bone that's sitting on top of my thyroid cartilage getting smashed down, and then they're rubbing together like this. It makes a cracking sound. So that's the hyoid bone. Not, let's see, thyroid tilt versus hyoid glide and tilt. When you're describing the tongue moving around and seeing the larynx move somewhere, when you're feeling these big movements, that's not your thyroid. That's your hyoid. So bullshit on you, sir. Well, no, that's not bullshit. It's just incorrect. He was taught that this has something to do with his thyroid tilting, and it just doesn't. It just doesn't. So. And I'm going to answer this question here. Joey Pa, yes. Would I agree that sometimes if you speak to yourself with slight untruths or metaphors, it can trigger you to sing the way you want? Yes. The way I like to explain this is that in singing, you have position, motion, and attitude. And then also, big fundamentals that you have regulating everything is going to be your knowledge, like what you know, what procedures you're following. In other words, I'm not talking about acoustics. When knowledge for singing is like, put your tongue here when this happens. Do this when this like decisions that you make. This is not about intellectual knowledge. I'm talking about your procedures for singing. You've got fitness, like your ability to actually do the things that you know how to do and learn new things, I guess, and all that. And then you've got heart, which is kind of mind. It's your mind, psychology. But it gets really confusing because I'm talking about knowledge, and then if I'm also talking about heart, about mind, everyone's going to get confused. So I say heart. And also, if you're not scientific or whatever, that's fine. So when it comes to position and motion, I believe these should be real things. There shouldn't be any. You should be trying to eliminate untruths, and you should be sticking to objective reality, and trying to measure and check what position and motion you have. You can have untruth in the sense of like error in your measurements, but that's not really untruth. That's error in your measurements. That's but when this attitude is extremely important, all of your performances in the end rely on not thinking consciously of position and motion. You do that in your practice room and stuff. You do that when you're preparing. By the time things become automatic, you're not looking, you're not remembering, and you're not experiencing little details, and you're not experiencing something that you can actually put into words, right? It's like, it goes like this. It's a feeling of how things go. And that is by nature not real. So, and by nature, it's the most powerful of all. It's like position and motion are all needing to be converted into attitude before you can do anything with them. That's like the software that you run on. It's your BIOS or your firmware. And you can tell yourself all kinds of untruth that could improve some attitude that you have. And there's no problem with that. The general idea with new school singing, and then why I have these moving around things, is that you try not to get stuck on something like I've got to have the right position, and you're so obsessed with objective position of like a few things that you're losing track of the big picture, and you start actually not changing any of those positions. Like the harder you try to change your position, the more you're in the same position, etc., etc. You're going in what I call a loop, And the idea with new school singing is that you're gonna change. You're gonna change your conscious focus. So you could change to motion, but you could also just change to attitude, completely change to attitude. Or you could be just completely exiting technical ideas and just think about your psychology. You know, if you're fearful, for instance, you're not going to be making the sound that Adrian is asking for. So Adrian is asking about how to get edge without a high larynx. And number one is you can't be fearful. So if you need to tell yourself something that's not true in order to not be fearful, then that's perfectly fine. So let's talk about this edge mode. We can hear a couple. So let's do this. I have some. Well, we can also.
Working with one of my undergraduate
Okay. So, I'm not. Look, I'm not trashing anyone here. That's not the idea of this show, and that's not the idea of Mr. Opera. But this is the neutral vocal mode for the most part, and especially in the higher range. And what was our pitch here? Let's try to get it in edge. See the position. Okay. The O is going to be hard, so we'll modify it to. It's going to be kind of like ah. And let's talk about the basics a little bit of going into edge. Let's see. I'm gonna get out my let's get this going. Opera, and actually I have a better idea. Instead of using this versus Opera Drive, I'll take it away and bring it back. Yay, Opera Edge versus Opera Drive. And what we can use is this Mephisto Marathon. So that was Edge. Oh, wait, let's. And that's Edge. That could have been Overdrive. It's a little bit ambiguous up there. Okay. So the most important thing, I think, is that our edge is based on extension and raising the chest. And our overdrive is going to be based more on flexion. So if you want the edge, the big question is going to be, how much are you opening your mouth? And then when you want to open it more, are you moving the skull away from the chin or more of the chin away from the skull? In a lower register, I can show you the difference most easily on the ah vowel. Ah, ah. And if I wanted to darken it, ah, ah, ah. So I darken it just by pulling the tongue a little back into area of interest number 4. To make this more in overdrive, and when I'm doing this middle part of the mouth is going to be more constricted than the outside of the mouth. Ah, ah. Even if I darken it, ah, ah. And what I have in this part is quite divergent, meaning that the middle part is more narrow than the end of it. When I want it more in the overdrive direction, I'm going to want to close the mouth a little bit, maybe bite down, and for opera, I'm going to want to darken it by then pulling the hyoid down. Ah, 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 yeah, 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 yeah. And if I'm making consonants, I wind up flapping my jaw a lot. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Ga, 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 ga. When I'm in edge, I'll wind up flapping my skull a lot. Ga, 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 ah, 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 ah. I can be Joey Pie. They're both capable of being bright and dark. So sound color is it's distinct from which mode you're using. And yes, Adrian, a lot of times people are using curbing in opera these days. Jussi Björling, I think, is a lot of curbing. So you're going to have curbing, edge, and overdrive, and neutral. And no, Joey Pie, I don't think dark singing is bad for beginners. Your sound color is not gonna be good or bad for you. It's a sound color. It's just a sound color. It doesn't have. There's no healthy or unhealthy sound colors. But yeah, and if I were to sing higher, let's see. So, if I wanted to do this phrase that we just heard that Adrian thinks I sang badly, but I mean, by the way, Adrian, I don't know. I want to see. I'd like to hear you at the near the end of your second Mephistopheles performance in 2 days. But anyway, So we don't do that here. We talk about what happened, and we try to describe the sound. But anyway, so let's look at this phrase though, and see if I can give you an edge high note and then an opera drive high note, and see if we can get a difference. Doesn't sound bad to me, actually. It sounds pretty good. Sounds like my vocal folds are a bit swollen, but that's pretty good. Okay. So let's try it in overdrive first. Ti si prosterna innamorata. Not great, not warmed up super or anything like that, but you get the idea. Let's try it in edge. Un uom ti si prosterna innamorato. It's easier, I guess. It's the second time around too. There you go. The way you get into the sound is in edge, you're going to be flat, like ra, You're doing nasty sounds. And the way to get into overdrive is with this bite. Ra, And when it sounds good, it sounds good. Let's see if I have. I think the last aria was a lot of overdrive. Let's see. Yeah, there should be some overdrive here. Joey Pie, Fernando de Lucia is using a lot of edge and reduced density edge. Yeah. Yes, that's that sound. And then also he uses edge like neutral. That's overdrive. Neutral. 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 Maybe some curbing there. Yeah. But mostly just neutral till now. That was curbing, maybe. I'm not sure. I think, Adrian, that you may be confusing a little bit the difference between density and the mode, and the vocal mode. So, you can have reduced density in both edge and overdrive, and reduced metal in both edge and overdrive. And in the simplified version of Complete Vocal Technique, that all just gets called curbing. So it's, but in the way that I'm thinking about things, it's better to call it curbing when there's a hold and when it's clearly curbing and doesn't have a passage to fuller density, edge, or overdrive. But when it's when it could be called reduced density edge, then it's better to call it reduced density edge, I think, especially in opera, because the curbing you can't get out of so easily. That's the thing. Yes, Joey Pye. I'd use Caruso's advice that you try to have your lungs like 90% full the whole time, and you only use 10%. And I don't know if it has an effect on density, but it has an effect on how high your larynx wants to go. And then that's having an effect on the overall inertance of the vocal tract. So I guess so, because you can the vocal tract pushes back against the vocal folds more when it's deeper, when it's longer. And even though you're retracting the neck and stuff, if you're taking full breaths, your larynx is going to hang out lower. Yeah. Yeah, Adrian, missing air doesn't make your larynx high. Your diaphragm is attached to your trachea by fascia. This like a rope of tissue that runs kind of on the left side, and it goes around the heart and then attaches to your hyoid and stuff, and trachea. And when you're breathing deep, it's tugging the larynx down. It's tugging the whole trachea down. So yeah, you want to keep this for operatic stuff. You want to keep that low, and that's why you want to you have all the air. Well, Joey Pye, I mean, the silent breathing, in my opinion, is because your heart rate is not too high. I mean, well, if your heart rate is not high, and your lungs are 90% full, even though you don't have a lot of time to breathe, it's not going to make a lot of noise because there's not a lot of air moving. But it's not. The silent breathing itself doesn't do anything. It's just an effect of not having a lot of air to move. If you have a lot of air to move and only a narrow tube through which you're going to move it, the only way to move it slowly is to move it quietly is to move it slowly. But the music is dictating how fast you're breathing. So the way to take a silent breath is not to have a need for a whole lot of air. And it just so happens that keeping your vocal folds short and keeping metal in the sound is going to reduce the amount of air that comes out, and you're going to have a more silent breath. So that brings us back to tilting the larynx and why it's not how it's being presented. Tilting the larynx is a way to raise the pitch while reducing density. That's it. It's about, so Joey, my body can't really collapse all that well while I'm singing a long phrase. That's why this. Whoops. Oh, hang on a second. What? Why am I still trying to okay. There we go. No, don't tell me. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. Okay, let's see. Let's bring this in. Where is it? Okay. Look at the position. Big breath. And then doing a plank. And doing the plank is no problem. But if I were just breathing freely without singing that phrase, then doing the plank would be a bigger problem. Because the air would want to come out. And then how would I be keeping the air from coming out? I would have to use muscles to keep my ribs from collapsing and stuff, to keep the air from wanting to get pushed out. Or I could do a Valsalva maneuver or something. But in that clip, the sound in the vocal tract is going back to the vocal folds and forcing them together when they're trying to come apart, and forcing them together even harder when they're trying to come together. That's making every burst of air that comes out smaller. That's leaving most of the air inside the lungs. And as long as I keep the shape of my vocal tract now that I've started the sound, the air can't get out. And it's like I get a plank for free. So my body can't collapse. It won't collapse until I stop that sound. And once you get the metallic sound going, with fuller density, you're harder to knock over. You're harder to if somebody disturbs your body, it doesn't disturb the sound. And then if you look at people that are lifting heavy stuff or trying to hit people really hard, they often vocalize. So I think that's not connected to all of this talk about support and breathing and stuff. Yeah, so Ilar Muin, for the shoulders, I would look into this guy. I'm going to put his name because this guy's awesome. I think his name is David Gray. David Gray. Look for him on Instagram. Why is that not? Oops. What do I got open here? Oh, that's the wrong thing. Sorry, guys. I'm getting there. Oh, God. Let me open this back up. Oh, look at all these open. Okay. Jeez. Okay. They update things, and then it's not helpful. So they updated Notepad. I don't know if you guys know that on the computer. They updated this Notepad app. And now you can have all these tabs open in Notepad, which nobody needs. No, I just need Notepad to function like normal Notepad. Anyway, so go on Instagram and look at this guy, David Gray. He's a physiotherapist, and he's got great suggestions, but also really good just information, so you understand what it is that you're looking for. And then once Instagram knows you're watching David Gray, you get suggestions for all kinds of different physiotherapy stuff. But what you're looking for is not just control over the shoulders. It's about mobility of the scapula and the rib cage together. Well, and the hips. But the hips are going to be, and the pelvis is relatively easy to learn how to control. But the rib cage is insanely difficult to learn how to control. So I don't want to tell you to go and work with your shoulders, because you may wind up like you're trying to get your shoulders involved, for instance, and it's like, it seems like they don't do anything, like nothing happens. And it's because the rib cage isn't really being shaped in a way that makes that do anything. David Gray shows some cool footage of Conor McGregor, and he shows you Conor McGregor's spinal flexion combined with scapula mobility, and that's I don't have it tonight. I'm pretty tired, but it's when it's all working properly. That's the key. When things aren't working properly, just use edge. That's the. By the way, but yeah, if you can control the rib cage, get some good spinal mobility, then you can use your shoulders and experiment with that and head rotation and how that relates to your larynx. No, okay, so Joey Pye, no, I wouldn't argue it's a scientifically proven version of Alexander Technique, because like Alexander Technique was always supposed to be a grift. It was always a scam. Like if you break down what Alexander was doing, he was always scamming. Just always a scam. He's basically a guy who he wanted to be an actor, and he sucked at acting. And he was like, how can I make up a story for why I suck at acting and try to make it sound like it's actually, a good thing. And it wasn't a good thing that he kept losing his voice. And he never made it back on stage. So he didn't do the first thing that he needed to do before he started teaching people how to do it, which is learn what he was doing wrong. He didn't do that. He just moved straight on to scamming people. So no, I think it's physical therapy. I think it's like it came from medical practices, and it came from post operation and stuff, people needing ways to recover from surgery, and they studied that. They looked at how do you recover from injuries, etc., and then that just happens to be a really good way to learn about how things function, basically, because their main goal is to restore normal function. Yeah. Let's hear it. Maybe we can hear it soon. This is the end of the second night. These are more in the overdrive direction, I think. These, where you have this, and there was a question earlier about the vowel from Adrian. So Adrian, Italians got e and e and all this stuff. But if you listen to Italians speaking in edge and overdrive, they don't have this. Because in edge and overdrive, it's going to be the pitch, the pitch level, and the mode and the density. Well, just the mode and the pitch level are going to be determining what what vowels are available to you. So what I suggest is go to like a football match and listen to the vowels that Italians use to express e and e when they're being loud. And it's not it's not diction coach Italian. And yeah, I very much disagree with this move towards trying to get everyone to have this kind of perfect standard Italian with all your proper open O's and closed O's and E's and E's. And first of all, Italians don't talk that way in real life, unless they only speak in neutral. And some Italians do only speak in neutral, and then they are speaking exactly like it's, you know, like it's supposed to be. But if they're at a football match being loud, you know, they do the same thing everyone else does, which is you make the closest sound to that vowel that's gonna work with the vocalization that you're doing. So yeah, my favorite rule with a coach who says that you should be able to sing any vowel on any pitch is show me, and I've yet to have anyone show me what they claim is possible. So it's like, wow, you're so sure it's possible, but you can't show me, and you don't know anyone who can. You didn't, you know, and it's like you get in this argument a lot, and yet you don't have the presence of mind to turn on your phone and record every damn time you hear someone really singing those proper vowels with the kind of sound that we're talking about. So no, you'll get anything except for that. You'll get arguments, some history thing or whatever, but they're never showing you that it's actually possible, because it's not possible. Yeah. So, but to bear, not a lot of people speak in edge or overdrive these days. But you know, you could have buongiorno, you know, I don't know. Ecco I giocattoli di Parpignol. You know, you don't have to be like, ecco I giocattoli di Parpignol. If it's really a guy, ecco I giocattoli di Parpignol. Ecco I giocattoli di Parpignol. Something like that would be a good way to announce that you've got toys and your name is Parpignol. Ecco I giocattoli. You know, whatever. And once you're using that kind of attitude and these kinds of sounds, you're not making these proper sounds anymore from Italian. Yeah, so sopranos are singing most of their stuff in neutral. So certainly the sopranos can demonstrate these things. But remember what it was that I said was show me. And when I say show me, it's like on these pitches. Show me on these pitches with this sound, not an octave away. Whoops. Oh crap. Oh no. Yeah. So not like an octave away with a different sound. So Joey Pie, football fans scream and shout aggressively out of emotion, which isn't really what you want to hear when someone sings Bellini or Donizetti. Are you sure, Joey? Are you sure? Let's see. Do I have? No. Oh crap! I took it out. we were watching. I need like a whole library I can bring up here. Well, we were watching Mario Delmonico do singing Norma, and it's awesome. And he's aggressively in edge in his recitativo, and it sounds great. So, yeah, I think that using edge and overdrive and using aggressive vocal modes is a long way from what football fans are doing. It might be the same vocal modes, yes, but ballet dancers sometimes run on the stage, and their running is still perambulation, just like running is in a football match. Perambulation, so yeah, despite the one being sport and the other being art, that's not, that's not how you separate the categories. I wouldn't say, and I would also say if you're not comfortable with the disconnect you're going to experience between, let's say you're singing a love duet and you want to use edge. I mean, you better get used to the fact that, well, it's not a fact, but I would say get used to the idea that you can't always sound sweet. That sometimes you're going to be using this nasty ass sound, and it's going to be refined into a love duet. So Joey, overdrive has yelling. A lot of yelling is in overdrive, and if we're using that on the opera stage, which can sound pretty good. Let's see. I had an overdrive in here. I'm getting like afraid to play it. Adrian's gonna criticize me. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So this I think was an overdrive B flat. Oops. That was the overdrive thing, I think. And it doesn't have the yell coupling. It doesn't have the yell. It doesn't have the yell chord, the F1 H2 coupling. And maybe like Complete Vocal Institute would say it's got to be curbing because it doesn't have F1 H2 coupling. But I think it's overdrive. It doesn't behave like curbing. The biggest way it doesn't behave like curbing is that when I sing in curbing, the pressure is much higher and the volume is much less. Maybe I'll find some curbing to show you, especially if I can find some curbing when I'm not curbing on purpose. That's the. I mean, Adrian, tell me when you're not here, and then we'll do. Because you're gonna be like, oh, that sounds bad. Oh, that also sounds bad. Oh, so bad. So no. Curbing, it's true, does, like, if you press into curbing, it has like a higher closed quotient than overdrive even, but the subglottal pressure, so it's really weird. Maybe I'll make, so if we're talking about pressure, like maximums, I don't know. Adrian, I don't know what happened there. I'm sorry. Why? Nightbot, just come on, Nightbot. What are you doing? How do I change that? I didn't mean that, Adrian. Sorry. This is an automatic thing. Oh God, I'm sorry. I'll go fix that later. Sorry, Adrian. It's like it's supposed to be this auto thing. What was I talking about? Yeah, subglottal pressure. I'm gonna write this in my thing. So I would say neutral is gonna have less maximum pressure than overdrive, which is gonna have less maximum pressure than edge, which is gonna have less maximum pressure than curbing. So these are supposed to be less than signs. I don't know. I hope this makes sense. Maybe we'll take this away. Put this down here. All right. So neutral has the most pressure, or the least pressure. As in, I mean, if you were in overdrive and you just kept reducing the pressure, eventually you would get to neutral. Yeah, Joey Pie, I think the football fans that don't lose their voice use overdrive, and the ones that do use their voice press into neutral. The ones that do lose their voice. Yeah, so edge is going to have higher pressure. It can have higher pressure, I think, than overdrive. And I might be mistaking about edge and overdrive there. But curbing, you can have the most pressure. Kind of thing. And that's really, really tough on the body. I mean, it's really hard to get the sound out. And it reduces the density, but it can be an extremely muscular coordination from the body. And even though the sound will be less, your body has to be able to take it. And when I get stuck in curbing, you see me break into a sweat like instantly. I'm just working so hard. And so it has this really high closed quotient. And can use the least air, actually. But because it doesn't make as much sound, it's often people are trying to avoid it. But some guys are doing a really good job using curbing really well, like Juan Diego Flores. Not Juan Diego Flores. He doesn't use, Larry Brownlee. He uses a lot of like reduced density edge and curbing, and it sounds awesome. And he's just skilled at managing that. Yeah. So, and if we look at volume, it's not. Well, let's do it this way. And then if we look at volume, let's say neutral. And, well, I guess this is going to be perceived loudness. So neutral is not as loud as curbing, which isn't as loud as overdrive, which isn't as loud as edge. So I hope that makes sense. So they don't line up the same way in pressure as they do in volume, even though neutral occupies that bottom position. You know, and even though our metallic modes have more pressure than neutral, probably. I mean, and there's some overlap, so you can really press into neutral, and maybe you can even press into neutral more than some of the other modes, right? But you can do very quiet, you can do very low pressure neutral, and you can't do very low pressure overdrive. But yeah, Joey Pie, I agree. He sounds awesome. So and then that also, by the way, is why I think what I do is better to answer. And I guess we'll finish here. I guess we should play this first. Wait. Oh, it's not playing. Yeah.
Dovrebbe un cantante servirsi della voce di petto?
No.
So basically he was the guy we were watching was on the side of Stefan Zucker on this. So not using voce di petto, etc. That's stretching the vocal folds. It's encouraging as much tilt as possible. But yeah, and to answer your question, Joey, or not to agree with your comment, Lawrence Brownlee sounds great, and I think. One second, guys. We've got some restless animals in the room. So I guess we're gonna sign off here. But what makes Larry Brownlee sound good is not that he uses this mode or that mode or more density or less density or this sound color or that sound color, or because he's singing healthy or because he's singing unhealthy. The reason Larry Brownlee sounds good is because he's singing the way he wants to sing. And nothing sounds better than agreeing with your own sound. There's just nothing better. And that's also what people came to see. People came to see artists when they come to the opera. If they came to see you sing, they came to see an artist. And I guess let's bring up this guy again. What makes me really mad about the guy that we were watching, can't remember his name. This voice teacher, the Instagram voice teacher we're watching today. What makes me mad about what he does is that he's taking away your ability to decide as an artist what kind of sound you want. If you're it's like you're taken out of the loop of making decisions. And when he answered me as one guy who's making the decisions for people, talking to another guy who's making the decisions for people. He assumed that when I mentioned keeping the vocal folds short and resisting the stretch of the vocal folds as you raise the pitch, that I meant that's what you should do. Because in his way of thinking, in his system, in his real system, not the singing tips we hear about, but the real underlying system that I don't think vocal teachers tell you about. in that system, you don't get a say. You're not making artistic choices about what kind of sound you make. That's someone else's decision. It's a conductor, it's a vocal coach, it's this whole cast of characters. It's your voice teacher, something like that. And so when he's talking to me about what's the good way and a bad way to do things, it's like he's inviting me to make decisions for you. And then what we're fighting over is like who are we making, like who's our properties? Which ones are my students and which ones are his students, right? But which one of these are artists who are like, yeah, the teachers, they taught me all about the different kinds of paints and the different kinds of brushes and strokes. They taught me about lighting, and they made me copy examples of the great masters. And so I learned my craft. And over time, I started to feel an urge to express my own preferences, to tell stories using light that I experienced or that I saw or that I imagined. And I became an artist that way. But where is the parallel for singers who go to university to learn classical singing? Where are the colors? Where are the vocal modes? Where is even more than one way to change the pitch? And welcome, Veronika Leszniewska. You remind me of someone I love very much, because you are someone I love very much. Kocham cię bardzo. Yes, guys, that's Veronika, my future wife. So, yes. But yeah, she's also reminding me that it's late. So we're gonna let's pick this up tomorrow. Maybe let's make this the theme for the next Mr. Opera. We'll talk about, I don't know, how about conformism and non-conformism, or conformity and the opera scene, or conformity and classical singing. I don't know. Why don't you guys send me an email at, oops, what the hell happened? That was the dog pushing things. So send me an email at therealmropera@gmail.com. And give me your non-conformity topics and videos. So maybe you got some videos you want to watch related to sounding like everyone else or something, or I guess I'm gonna have to watch some of these terrible videos on finding your natural sound, which always winds up being what some guy said was the right way to sing. Look at my things are so broken. Oh God. Yeah. You know, I was working on my OBS scenes when nothing works. Yeah. But I should have, we're going to have improved next time guests come on. Yeah. Okay.
It's a fake.
Yes, I need to play all my things. All right, have a good night, guys.
The tongue affects your singing a lot.
Suddenly everybody is talking about the tongue.
Where exactly should you place your tongue when you're singing?
I always say that your tongue should be placed in a very natural position.
And is there an ideal tongue position that if you were to use it, you'll become a better singer?
If the color of your voice is attached to the position of your of your tongue. So if you manipulate your color with the tongue, you are creating a fake color.
It's a fake.
A dark that doesn't really exist.
I created it and it's real.
You are creating a fake color.
It's a fake.
Actually, if you saw that my tongue is not in a tense state, it's actually in a very relaxed state. In fact, it's pulling even farther away.
Larynx and pharynx open. Gola aperta. Words of Giacomo Lauri Volpi.
Open throat technique.
Arturo Melocchi used to say, tenga la lingua avanti. Keep your tongue forwards. Okay? You can hear it here. Tenga la lingua avanti.
And also because we are singing with a high positioned tongue, the sound that comes out of your air pipe gets reflected on your hard palate on the top and goes directly out.
It should be natural.
I always say that your tongue should be placed in a very natural position.
The important thing is to keep your larynx and pharynx open.
If your tongue is in a low position, the tongue itself will partly be in your throat, in the back of your throat.
I use my tongue so that I can maintain good open throat technique.
Tongue rocks straight back. Here's where the tongue does not go up, but the tongue retracts back.
And what you're going to find is that if the tongue is tensing, you're going to actually see the tongue narrowing.
I always say that your tongue should be placed in a very natural position.
You're tearing me apart!
What?
You say one thing, he says another, and everybody changes back again!